This will define everything for Geno Smith because one of the biggest starts of his career awaits tomorrow in Kansas City. Biggest start of one's career for a 2-4 team or a two-win team that the Raiders are. Yeah, you better believe it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Believe it too. Every time you check in, we're going to have good conversation here on Raiders Digest. And today, a very important one because I'm of the belief that Geno Smith's career is on the line tomorrow, less than 24 hours outside of Oakland, Vegas's big game in Kansas City. Why do I say that? Well, tomorrow you're looking at a situation where Geno Smith, if he does not play well again, and the Raiders struggle and they go out there and they lose again, I don't think Geno Smith is going to see the floor again as a starter, see the field again as a starting quarterback in the NFL. This, of course, his line up to this point, his game-by-game log up to this point, and as we know, none of it particularly endearing. Even that Commanders game, those 3 touchdowns, as we know by now, coming in blowout time, and that 7-10 touchdown interception ratio is, of course, why we're having this conversation. And in my opinion, when I look as to the whole dynamic, as to the Geno Smith experiment for what it was, what it is, and how it's going to be going forward, if it is going forward, there can't be any real true rationale, I guess, that Pete Carroll is going to have to keep Geno on the field if they lose, and if he plays poorly. The only rationale that he's going to have, that he's going to hit us with, is that essentially, not in as direct terms as he's going to say it. It's going to say, Geno's our guy. You know, we invested in it. We invested the draft pick into it. We did everything that we needed to do to build a foundation for this team around him. But another reason why I think things can probably change if the Raiders lose, if Geno bombs out again, is that, of course, next week, Vegas goes into a bye week, a week 8 bye. And it would not be any better of a time to pivot to Kenny Pickett for Pete Carroll to make that move, because when else are you going to do it? When is the best time to do it? It's a mid-season move, of course. That happens a lot of the time when you see a quarterback change, but not many opportunities going into the bye week to get a week to figure this thing out. No sense of pressure going into the Sunday, and then kind of hit the reset, recharge button out of the bye week with a new face, a new signal caller. And it goes beyond what Kenny will bring to the table, but it's a matter of what he takes out of, I guess, the off week going forward, and the dynamic going forward of pivoting off of Pickett onto Geno Smith. There's no better time to do it. Heck, even if the Raiders actually win tomorrow in Kansas City, if the Raiders somehow find a way to go into the break with a little bit of momentum on a 2-game win streak at 3-4 on the season, if they win and Geno plays poorly, again, in all likelihood, this probably won't happen because Pete will play the overriding sentiment that we won the game, Geno did what he needed to do, and that's what it is. Going forward, Geno will be back outside of the bye. Outside of that, though, there can't be any real defense at this point for keeping Geno as the guy. It's going to have to be a pivot at some point, because if the Raiders lose the game, they go 2-5, virtually out of the playoff picture. What's the point of keeping him out there? Especially if down the road he continues to struggle, then you're missing out on time that you can further evaluate Kenny Pickett or whoever it may be. Maybe they make a move at the deadline to bring that Shador in. I know we all kind of like not all, but a lot of people like the hypothetical of bringing Shador into the conversation if they were to snag him from Cleveland. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's neither here nor there. There's not going to be a better time to do this, to get Kenny Pickett acclimated, and I think Geno would understand. He's a professional. He's done this before. This is not the first time he's been benched. This is not the first time he's seen a guy behind him step onto the field because Geno couldn't do his job. Simply put, Geno couldn't do his job. It's just going to be an interesting predicament if they go into Kansas City and they somehow find a way to win the game against a Chiefs team that appears to be finding the answers a little bit. I mean, I don't think any of us are of the belief that they're not going to figure this thing out. But in order to beat the Chiefs, you probably need Geno to have a pretty good day, I would think. I would think, at least on the surface, you're not going to go in and beat a pretty good defense with below average quarterback play, which is what, of course, the Raiders have been dealing with over the past few weeks. But I think another aspect of it that makes things so important when it comes to playing Pickett over him is that, yeah, you're thinking about the future, but you also want to have him, if he does excel, you also want to have him build a dynamic with the guys around him, potentially around the likes of the Bowers, if he is healthy. More on that in a second. The Ashton Jeantys of the world, to figure that thing out. And if it does work for the better and he becomes an option going forward, this is the best time to do it, to get him acclimated, to get him up to speed, because there's no real good time, I guess, to make a quarterback change. Of course, that old analogy, the adage, I guess, that they say, when you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any at all. There's not going to be a better time for Vegas to do this. There's not. And if Pickett, what would make it even more frustrating is that if Pickett were to ultimately come in the conversation, which I think he probably will be at this point, him or Aiden O'Connell, one of the two. At this rate, I can't see Geno finishing the year as a starter. I don't. I just cannot. I think you look at the dynamic with Pickett. If he's going to play inevitably, put him in there. And then on the Geno side of things, if he bombs, I don't think he sees the field again as a starting quarterback by title in the league. And maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe he stays in Vegas next year. He's a reserve, or whoever it is under center. If Geno Smith loses and plays poorly in Kansas City tomorrow, I just don't think we'll see him back as a starting quarterback in the league by title anymore. We'll see. Obviously, a little ways to go to figure that out. A couple housekeeping notes before the big game in Kansas City. The injury report coming out yesterday in a situation where I think a lot of people, as it pertains to Jacoby Myers, were kind of viewing his questionable status at the start of the season, or at the start of the week, I should say, as kind of a hold out, hold in, whatever way you want to call it, because he was being viewed as a trade asset, probably for himself and the team doing that as well. But it turns out he actually does have an injury, and he's questionable for tomorrow. Knee toe situation he had going on. He hurt in the fourth quarter. We learned yesterday following practice by the coaching staff. Brock Bowers, probably the best situation that he's been in up to this point, practicing yesterday for the first time since October 1st. Again, not looking particularly ideal for him to get back on the field, listed as doubtful. Alex Bachman out there, questionable as well. Otherwise, a clean injury report for both teams for the most part. But the Bowers thing, you kind of operate under the assumption that it's going to be a third straight missed game for the tight end. And right, that was kind of the speculation a couple weeks ago. I can't remember. I think it was Tom Pelissero, NFL Network, who reported it, that week 9 was probably the realistic scenario for a Bowers return. And you figure that's kind of what it looks like. That bye week coming up, another chance to catch his breath. And maybe he does it with a new quarterback. Maybe that's part of the reason that they said, we're not going to rush it. We need 1 week to figure this thing out, and maybe a new guy to throw Brock the football. I don't know. If it is, whether it's Geno, whether it's Kenny Pickett, whether it's Aiden O'Connell, whether it's Brock Bowers, whoever it is, we're going to talk about it on this program. So be sure to come back, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We really enjoyed having you aboard over the past couple of weeks. The engagement has been fantastic. We've had a lot of fun doing it. We'll be back again tomorrow, obviously, to recap what hopefully is a Raiders win and a good Geno Smith performance in Kansas City. But as we know, it's going to take that and a little bit more to go in and knock off the Chiefs.